we're joined this morning by Professor Umar Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman and the CEO of Nigeria Communications Commission, NCC. Thank you for coming on this morning, Prof.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain.
Well, we know that this is one area where I'm sure there are a lot of people raise one thing or the other about the quality of calls that they make. First, drop calls. That's a common feature you hear regularly. But then, in terms of ensuring that services, top quality services are provided, how is the NCC approaching this now?
Well, Chamberlain, let me start by saying good morning to our viewers and also take you back to to the 8-point agenda of the Nigerian Communications Commission. People say it is ABC's agenda. And I countered by saying, no, this agenda belongs to the Nigerian Communications Commission and it belongs to the industry. Number 2 item on the agenda says improving quality of service. So this is captured very well in our 8-point agenda. And long before we unveil this agenda, we have already set up a task force on improvement of quality of service. And we have identified 2 factors affecting quality of service. One, non-technical factors, and the other technical factors, that conspire to degrade quality of service. The technical factors that conspire to degrade quality of service are factors that we have capacity in the Commission to monitor, evaluate, and direct the operators to address, so that these factors, are at an acceptable limit that, guarantees the right kind of quality of service.
Have you given any such directive lately?
Yes. From time to time, when we monitor these factors, which are characterized by key performance indicators. And I do not want to bore viewers with the technical details, but they are call success setup rate, call drop rate. Okay, the other 2 are really about channel congestion. Okay, and like I said, we have capacity to monitor this. We are doing it, and the good thing is we can be able to say, operator A, in location B, you are not meeting the required key performance indicators, and therefore you need to do something to beef up this. Okay, because we have assigned, if you like, figures. For example, call success setup rate is normally 98%, meaning out of 100 calls, 98 must be successfully completed. Okay, now the drop call rate is normally 0.2%. Out of 100 calls, we anticipate not more than 2 calls should be dropped. So they are measurable factors, and we monitor this and direct the operators to beef up the key performance indicators, to be at a level or above, the stipulated, levels, as the Commission, from time to time, provides information on. This is consistent, Chamberlain, with global best practice. We do the same by monitoring the other 2, related to channel congestion. Now, if I may quickly speak about the non-technical factors, these are factors like inadequate and unreliable electricity supply, vandalization of telecommunications infrastructure, if you like, issues related to right-of-way, indiscriminate taxation, at the 3 levels of government: the federal government level, the state and local government levels. In some instances, operators are even being subjected to taxation, by area boys. So these are issues that we address by engaging, governance, at the 3 levels.
Let's quickly take you up on the, the measurables that you've talked about, and you've said that, you have standards. But when we look at some of the standards, for instance, when you say 2 out of every 100 calls,
Should
maybe
be dropped.
is the allowance that you give for dropped calls.
Yes.
When you translate that to the millions of lines that we currently have, that would definitely come up to something. We're saying that maybe in about 1 million lines connections, maybe 200,000, is what we expect to be dropped. Would you think that we would increase raise the standard that we expect? Maybe we'll start measuring in the thousands, for instance.
Well, these standards are by no means static. Okay, so these are dynamic standards. If we have reason to revisit them and beef them up again, we will. But even now, some of the operators are having difficulty in meeting them. Okay, and these are not isolated standards. These are standards, we have deliberately borrowed a leaf from what we call telecommunications, best practices, in other parts of the world. So our standards in terms of technical factors characterizing quality of service are comparable to any, globally speaking.
So are we meeting up the standards at all?
We are substantially. I don't want to mention any operator here because the intention is not to give any operator any age. But most of the operators do meet, some of the standards, and then there are other standards that are not being met. Our responsibility is to draw the attention of operators to those standards, technical standards that are not being met, and ensure that the standards are met. And then we monitor. We do a compliance monitoring to ensure that the standards are met. Where they're not met, we resort to other, stiffer measures in order to ensure compliance.
We've seen how in times past the NCC, imposes fines on telecoms operators for not meeting certain standards.
Yeah.
Over the years, but people have complained as to how, if the NCC is going to be imposing fines on operators for not meeting certain standards, and it is the consumers who have suffered the burden of their not meeting up to standards, shouldn't the customers be able to get some compensation? Are you working on that?
Again, I'll take you up to the 7th item of our 8-point agenda, which is protecting and empowering consumers. We protect the interest of consumers by making sure that standards are met, by ensuring that there is efficient and qualitative telecommunication services to consumers. We also protect the interest of consumers by empowering them to know, their rights. Okay, through consumer parliaments, through various media that we have that they can be able to use to register their complaints. So this empowerment is a continuous exercise. As I'm talking to you now, it is ongoing. Consumers do complain. As I'm talking to you, we are going to unfold, a value-added service, if you like, regulatory framework that further empowers, consumers to demand for more and more, better telecommunication services. So we do protect the interest of consumers, and we are even providing a mechanism that consumers can opt out of certain unsolicited text messages, that generally people receive, and like I said, unsolicited, and we are providing a medium through which they can be able to opt out of this.
Is it enforced now?
We are going to enforce it. We are going to enforce
That's
this.
one sore point that most Nigerians will be interested on solicited text messages and even ring or caller back tunes, which some would say I never actually asked for this. But let's talk about security and see how this is working within the sector, and it has to do with calls and generated from lines by criminals, and how difficult it has been for some of the people to trace such. What is the Commission doing?
We're trying.
Looking at the spate of kidnappings, for instance, almost every kidnapper has a phone line, and even for those that have not been caught, it's still very difficult to know whose name is on that same.
Okay, thanks, Suleiman. I think the issue here is, the issue to address is to ensure all telephone subscribers are registered. This is very, very important. And registration entails getting not only the numbers of the subscriber, the SIM number. It entails getting the physical features of the subscriber for, easy, identification. Therein lies the importance of biometric identification. You need to generate the biometric data of the subscriber, and once a call is made, we can be able to trace which network, source, the source of the call and the number. This together will be able to tell us who, the author of the call, was, and therefore will facilitate tracing of who places the call and the intention behind making the call. Now, it is important to be able to trace the source, and we have the capacity for doing that. The problem we're having is in getting all subscribers, registered, and that is the reason why the Commission took a very, very, strong measure to ensure that the SIM card registration exercise is taken seriously, not only by the operators, also by Nigerians. What happens in the first few months ago is a case in point, where we insisted that all illegally or improperly registered SIM cards must be deactivated, meaning in the process of registration of subscribers, cases may have arisen where the biometric data was not properly captured. Maybe the face, the ears, the fingerprints, and this is what render the biometric data incomplete, and therefore renders the registration invalid. And it's because of this point that we have insisted that such subscribers must be deactivated, and a chance should be given to them to come back and re-register. Many have come up, answered the call, the invitation to come back and register. Many others, did not come, indicating to the fact that there is a security implication indeed, which we have, addressed, by insisting that illegally registered SIM cards, should be deactivated.